Right, so this is the Financial Freedom Tracker inside Property Accelerator Pro. And I want to walk you through everything on this page because there's much more going on than people realize when they first log in. There's so much to this. So let's talk you through it step by step. So most property investors I speak to, they've got a vague idea of what they want. And by that, I mean something like, I want to replace my salary, or I want $3,000 a month from property, which is a start, but ask them how many more properties they actually need to get there based on their own numbers, how much capital they've got right now to deploy, and you're going to get blank faces. Now, that gap between the goal and the actual plan is what this page closes. So let me go through it section by section. So at the very top, you've got your passive income target. And it's the number that if it was landing in your bank account every single month, 10 grand, it would genuinely change your life. It pays all of your bills and then some, and it lets you lead a very nice lifestyle. It could be £2,000, it could be 5,000, it could be 10, it could be 15, 20, whatever. Depends on how much you want. It's up to you entirely. The tracker then takes your current net monthly cash flow from your property portfolio or property income and compares it directly against your target. As you can see there, you get the gap in pounds, the percentage you've already hit. In this case, 28% of the way towards our £10,000 a month target. And you can actually see it moving over time as you make changes. And there's a dynamic insight message below that updates based on your numbers to tell you what's holding you back right now. It says there, your tracker says you're 28% of the way there. At your current average of £700, £701 a month per income property, you need approximately 11 more properties to hit your target based on your average income. Now that is incredible. It's a dynamic insight into exactly where you are, and it turns an abstract goal into something that you can actually measure yourself. Now, below that, we've got the capital war chest, and this is one of my favorite sections because most investors genuinely have no idea whatsoever what they have available to deploy in terms of money, capital. This pulls together your investable capital across cash, equity, and deployable funds to give you a single war chest figure. And here's why that matters most. Opportunities in property sometimes come really fast, and you've got to act fast. You've got to make quick decisions. If you're slow to work this out and you don't know what this figure is, it might be too late. You've missed the opportunity. It's gone. This just gives you a really simple overview at all times of exactly what money you have to play with. And, it shows here, this is the total war chest, which is releasable equity, plus the cash reserves that you have, plus any flip profits. So it's an awesome tool to kind of show you exactly where you're at as a snapshot. But then underneath, we've got the deployment calculator. This tool lets you model what actually happens if you were to deploy that capital, if you were going to spend the money that you have on another purchase or multiple purchases. It's essentially a what if tool. What if I deployed all of that capital? What could that give me? Well, it would mean in this scenario, I've got 283 grand, it's 9 deposits. That would add 6,300 potential cash flow to my portfolio. And I would be 91% towards that freedom target of £10,000 a month. I'd be almost there if I just used the capital that I've already got. So it's an awesome tool to be able to utilize. Gives you the snapshot, and then the what if tool, the deployment calculator. Well, here's what would happen if you actually did invest further. And then we move on to the next section, which is what should I buy next? This is the one that stops people in their tracks when they see it for the first time. Based on your current portfolio, your available capital, and your target income, the platform here gives you a recommendation on what type of property and strategy would move you fastest toward your freedom number, your financial freedom number. So you're not just buying randomly. You're not just adding another buy to let. You might actually pivot and do something else. You're buying with intention, with purpose, because every purchase is a step toward a specific target. And this tool right here tells you which steps to take next. And that's a completely different way of thinking about property investing. And honestly, it's the difference between building a portfolio with a plan and just accumulating properties and hoping for the best. And you would be amazed at the amount of investors I speak to that literally just doodle and clink along and do the same thing again, repeat, without ever actually really thinking about, hang on a minute, could I grow in a much more effective way? This prompts the question. This makes you think about that. Moving on, we've got portfolio health, which is this section here. So this is just, again, a snapshot of your portfolio. So there's your portfolio value. You've got your total equity, portfolio loans to value, your average cash flow per property, and the gross rent income that you generate from your portfolio. And this is just a grid of health indicators covering all of those things. And everything's color coded too. So it's immediately obvious what's healthy and what needs attention. Green means you're in good shape. Anything flagged in amber or red is telling you something needs addressing before it becomes a bigger problem. It's you've got too much equity tied up. That's why we're getting the pink number over here, the red, is because we've got way too much equity sat there doing nothing. And maybe we need to deploy that. Then we've got underneath what your next deal needs. And this works hand in hand with the coaching panel over here. So this looks at your current portfolio. It gives you the specific criteria your next purchase should meet to keep your portfolio balanced and moving in the right direction. So for example, it's telling me there, to hit £3,000 a month milestone, I need to generate an extra £197 a month. To hit your freedom target, I need 11 more properties, as we've seen from up there, and top performer, saying which of my properties is my top performer. And it also tells me which is the weakest as well. So it's kind of, again, feeding into the portfolio health on a bit more of a data-driven basis with down to their properties themselves. And then we've got strategy performance over here. Strategy performance is where it gets really interesting if you've been investing for a little while and you are a portfolio investor. This breaks down how each strategy in your portfolio is performing. This panel makes it completely obvious. And that matters because the natural instinct is to keep doing what you've always done. And this forces you to take a step back, look at the data, and make decisions based on what's actually working for you right now and what you think is working. And sometimes they're different things altogether. Now, obviously, you're going to generate more cash flow using certain strategies. So you just have to keep that in mind. And then we move on to the freedom projection, which is this part here. So this is a forward-looking view showing when you're going to hit that freedom target, financial freedom number that we put in the top, which is £10,000. And it's a reality check and it's a motivator as well in equal measure. Some people look at this and feel a burst of energy because they're getting closer than they thought. Some people look at it and realize actually they need to change things because they're not getting there quick enough. Either way, you've got the honest answer right in front of you, and that's always better than guessing or assuming it'll take you X amount of years to do it. And this says at your current pace, you're on track for May 2033, based on acquiring one property every 8 months at £700 a month average cash flow. And it just breaks it down 7.1 years away. So if I want to shave off a few years, I can acquire more properties. I can utilize my equity that I've got sat there tied up. I can potentially use it on 9 deposits, and I can jump from being 28% progress to 91%. Would I have known that looking at a spreadsheet? Probably not. Probably not. Spreadsheets tend not to go, to that level. And then what we've got is your property journey timeline. So this is essentially the milestones. So first property acquired, first BRR, first SA, first flip. This is a test account. These are not real properties. It's just to show you the journey. And you can see there, the end goal, the ultimate goal is the financial freedom number of £10,000 a month. It's just a visual milestone timeline to kind of look at. It's just a feature that we added in. Sounds simple. There's something genuinely powerful about seeing your progress and getting these green ticks along the left-hand side here. It makes you feel good. It's a positive thing that you're getting as you log in. You can see what you've done so far and what you still need to achieve and focus on. And then we've got cash flow by property. So we've got an underperforming property here flagged to us, telling us that the property is below average performance based on the rest of the portfolio, which is nice to know because as portfolio investors, some properties are better than others, aren't they? And sometimes we want to get rid of the dead wood and we might think about selling this property and utilizing the money in a much more effective way. But this just flags it up to you in a nice little obvious way here. And then we've got the cash flow by property. In the final section on this page, on the financial freedom tracker, every property you own here is ranked high to low by what it actually contributes to your monthly cash flow. This makes it just brutally obvious which properties are pulling the weight, which properties are not pulling the weight. And sometimes the answer is uncomfortable. But uncomfortable truths are always better than comfortable ignorance when it comes to your portfolio. There's no point burying your head in the sand or thinking, well, everything's okay generally. But actually, I'd rather know if properties are not performing because I might sell that property, I might get rid of it. The top one, obviously, is a flip. So it's a little bit different because that's not a held asset. And the profit there is 25k. So as we look at each property, we can see the value of the property, the equity tied up, the net cash flow, the rental income, the gross yield, and the net yield. We can see what strategy it is. This case, it's an SA, it's tenanted, it's within an SPV, and we can see absolutely everything. We can see when we purchased the property address, postcode. We can see the mortgage rate that we're on, if we're on a mortgage rate. It depends, if that's been input as well. This one's been tenanted till March 24th, 2027. And you just get that snapshot of your portfolio as you add it in there. So that's Financial Freedom Tracker. And look, this whole page exists to solve one problem. Most investors never really know if they're winning. They buy properties, they hope for the best, they check their bank account and wonder why it doesn't feel like they're making progress or they're not growing or scaling as quick as they would like. This replaces all of that hope with clarity, crystal clear clarity, and it gives you a single number to measure yourself against, a war chest figure so you know what you can deploy and use, and a recommendation on what to buy next. And also you've got that health check of your entire portfolio and a visual timeline of how far you've come, how far you've still got to go. So that's Property Accelerator Pro's Freedom Tracker. I hope you enjoyed this short video. If you think this looks amazing and you want to get your hands on this and use this and utilize this tool and all of the other tools, remember this is just one page we've showed you on the Freedom Tracker. You can get access. Click the link below and go and check it out.